JD chose Omarion Hampton tonight. Those are Omarion Hampton's numbers from the season, or from the his 3 years at UNC. So those are all his numbers right there. Those are his measurables. I mean, the guy is stout. 6 foot, 220, running a 4.46. I mean, that's legit stuff. But looking at Hampton, Teja, I don't know if you want to start off with your notes on Hampton. I have some notes here.
Look, I don't even need to go too deep into Omarion Hampton because he's just so. I mean, everyone knows how high he's rated. I mean, he's got everything. He's speed, agility. He's got vision and pass pro. He can receive it. He doesn't really have a weakness. Like, no one's really talked about a weakness. I mean, some people try to nitpick, but he doesn't really have it. He's already a 3-down back. So he's a guy. There's a reason why he's being talked about in the top 20, 25 picks possibly. He's the only threat UNC really had. Yet he was 74th percentile missed tackles per attempt and 97th percentile of yards after contact per attempt. That's really impressive considering he's the only player they were zeroing in on. So when you can do that, have those numbers, and be the main guy, I mean, if you put him on Ohio State, what would have numbers would have been, considering they have a bunch of other guys to go to, right? So his comps are I've seen David Johnson, I've seen Matt Forte. Pretty good.
I've also seen Deuce McAllister, which Deuce McAllister, if you guys have, I mean, obviously most people in the chat, you guys have been watching football for a long time. Deuce McAllister was a beast. And if you get anything of Matt Forte, Deuce McAllister, and what you said, David Johnson as well. Yeah. It's a pretty good trio of running backs right there.
Yeah.
Some of the things I did see, though, so I alluded to it earlier, and Maurice Jones-Drew did his top running backs in this draft class. And again, it's an amazing draft. Hampton, I've seen him probably being the number 2 running back from the majority of people. I've seen him as the number 2 back behind Genty in this draft.
Some people even say number 1.
Yeah, some people are making the argument. Maurice Jones-Drew, however, had him as the 7th running back, which is kind of crazy to me. And he called him out on his quickness. He said his quickness, he wants to see his quickness improve, which is interesting. The guy's 6 foot, 220, running a 4.40. Obviously, quickness and speed, very different. The one knock I did see on him, which is what I kind of looked at when I looked at the running backs today, I kind of made my big thing, because especially this year, right? They're going to be around a lot of veterans, so you're going to kind of have to make your money somewhere, right? Being the 3rd down back could be something. And the big thing with him, he's a willing pass protector. However, his technique and placement need refinement to effectively handle NFL level pressure. He has good size. A lot of the experts and these draft experts say because of his size, he has good potential in becoming a better pass protector. But talking about his receiving ability, phenomenal. I mean, soft hands. The guy, he can create an open field. So that's not an issue at all. It's more, he's willing. He's got the size, but the pass protection technique right now. And as JD mentioned on the show last week, as long as a guy's a willing guy, you can fine tune the technique. And that's what, you go from college to the pros. I mean, you're going to fine tune it a little bit, right? You're not full on ready to go product. Although he is pretty good. But as far as the pass protection aspect, that's a lot of things that rookies have to get. I mean, Pacheco 2 or 3 years in, still is not the best pass protector. So, I mean, it takes time for that, but he's willing and he's got the size, so that definitely helps as far as.
You're going to see that a lot with a lot of these guys, even the ones who are good at pass protection. It's a lot of their size and they're willing, but they do need refinement. Not many of these guys are refined pass protectors. So that's not that uncommon for a rookie. I mean, again, if that's your worst thing, as long as you're not unplayable. If you're unplayable, that's a problem. But he's playable there, then that's fine.
Some of the things so obviously he's a top 3 running back, regardless if you put him at 2, 1, or 3, right? In this draft, I would say, outside of MJD's list. But it's interesting that
he's 2 or 1.
Well, top 3, I would say.
Who's 3rd?
Well, I mean, there's a guy by the name of Quinshawn Judkins coming out of Ohio State.
No one has Judkins, apparently, except for MJD. No one has Judkins ranked above Omarion Hampton.
Well, I mean, MJD's list, he does have some other guys who are going to go rounds 4 to 7 ahead of him. But the one thing I have seen consistently, because MJD talks about his quickness, but the one thing I have seen is Judkins, a lot of his touchdowns are just straight line, kind of vertical runs. Not a lot of wiggle in the open field as far as having these kind of, dynamic kind of runs where he does like make defenders miss. So it's not a lot of that. I mean, it's more like a Larry Johnson that when Larry got in the open field, it was done. You weren't going to catch him. That's kind of where it is with Hampton. There's not a lot of elusiveness as far as like making dudes miss in the open field when when it's a one-on-one defender. But as far as when he gets ahead of steam, he's gone.
And you know what? That can be attributed to, again, being the only talented player on a team where the entire 11 man is jumping on you. You don't really get a lot of one-on-one opportunities to just shake one guy loose for more yards. It's pretty much like find it and hit it hard.
So the thing with Hampton, which is, everyone's got to each their own, and I put this in our poll on YouTube earlier. So Hampton's obviously, of all the guys we're going to talk about tonight, he's obviously far and away the best prospect of all the ones we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, he has to be a first-round pick.
Yeah. That's where the drawback is, right? It's a deep RB class. Is Hampton that much better than the guy we would get in the second round, one of our third-round picks, or one of our fourth-round picks? Is he that much better? And that's kind of the question that, Veach and the staff, so the front office is going to have to kind of look at, is he that much better? And that's kind of where, if you look at the DTs and the running backs, and it's the best we've ever seen as far as DTs, the depth, going down the list. Best running back draft class we've seen in a long time. Is Hampton that much better than all the other guys? To me, that's like, I don't think so. That's where I stand on it. Where do you stand on that? Because that's kind of like when I see people talk about the running backs are favorites. It's like, oh yeah, Hampton. It's like, well, if you take Hampton, you're not going to get a guy like potentially Harmon, potentially Nolan at that pick. But if you get the Nolan or Harmon, you're not going to get Hampton in round 2, but you could get Henderson, you could get Judkins, you could get some of these other guys we're going to talk about tonight.
Especially for how the team wants to use them, right? Are we looking for a guy who can do everything? Are we looking for a guy who can do one of those things? And which one of those things do we want them to do? So it really comes down to how we're going to use them in the end. Like, we could be so off in what we're looking for at this point if the Chiefs are just like, I just want our own version of Gibbs. That's all I want. If they want that, you could just be a completely wrong area. We're not going to do him. We're not going to do Judkins. We're not going to do most of the big name guys. We'll get to some other guys you can't possibly do. Or if you want, I want when these guys all leave this year, I want one guy who can handle everything. And then we'll get a cheap pass catcher and we'll get a cheap goal line back. Or if I want two guys who can split time and carries for the next few years. So it really comes down to what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's gonna be the big thing in the end. If I was a betting man, which I am, I would bet the Chiefs do not draft a running back in round 1. I think you go with D tackle or whatever, BPA. Or I know JD's a big anti-BPA guy, but you go BPA and then you get someone who may not be in a tier as Hampton as of right now, but you get a guy like that in round 2 or round 3 or round 4 even.
I'll tell you, if they draft Hampton,
if he's even there, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard top 20 pick for him.
Yeah,
up to top 20 pick. But if we do, I expect a major scheme/mentality shift in what we're doing on offense. Because then why would you do that? If you're going to stick to what you're doing and not run the ball more than like 5 times in a game, why do that? That's like spending most of your budget on a car and only driving it on the weekends. Like, that's a luxury pick. And the way our team's built right now, this isn't rookie contract Mahomes anymore. The way our team's built right now, we need to find like fillers at tough positions that are going to help us let guys go, right? And running back's one of the positions that we actually we've been able to go cheap and win for the past few years. So it's going to be interesting.
2 things for me. This is more like mentality. You talk about mentality. If they do draft Hampton, they feel he is the guy, and they love and they're enamored with him. If they do draft, they run back in round 1. That's first. Number 2, how much of, and I don't know, JD would be a better person to answer this kind of question, but like, how much did drafting CEH in round 1 like hinder like them wanting to draft a running back in round 1 again a couple years later? You know, because a lot of people are like, oh, you don't draft running backs in round one. And obviously, you know, the running back kind of died for a couple of years, and now it's back again. Everyone's saying the running back is back. But, like, does that play into it at all? Just like, oh, yeah.
I think that's more in fans' heads than it's in their heads. I think GMs, unless they were really snake bitten, I think GMs are like cornerbacks. They just have a very short memory. On to the next play, you know, because you can't not draft someone because they're really talented because you didn't get the best out of a guy 6 years ago at this point. You just can't do that. I'm someone who's going to remember that, or not drafting somebody, right? But at the end of the day, every year is different, and you have to just treat every prospect within itself. If we love them that much, we'll take them.
Yeah. And as far as I'm aware, Chiefs has not met with Omarion Hampton. As far as I'm aware.
Nothing I've seen either.
So that also plays into it as well. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.